Hello everyone, welcome back. Title update 16.1 has been a disaster. Let's just call it what it is. A massive deserve an unhappy player base giving unhappy feedback. However, some of the comments that I've seen on forums, and one comment in particular that was sent to Yannick directly on Twitter, are simply unacceptable. I'm not going to give this person any kind of limelight in this video, but when it goes from unhappy feedback to insults about family members of the developers or just disgusting language, this steps over the line for me, and it has to be cut out of this community and all communities out there. Fortunately, the vast majority of us are able to give feedback, even rant when it's needed, with respect of course, but there are some people out there that are simply cannot do that, and they just do not belong in a civilized society. It's just a fucking game, man. Just calm down, please. I'm as upset as a lot of this community are with the quality of this latest update, TU16.1. There are so many bad mistakes with this update, which I will get to, by the way. But at the end of the day, if you cannot accept that gaming studios will make mistakes, and sometimes make lots of mistakes consistently, without sending absolutely disgusting messages to some of the developers, you should not be playing games at all. And I'm not a doctor, but I seriously think you need to go and get some help. That's just not how adults act. Anyway guys, I hate to start the video with such a statement, but I feel like it's necessary to defend Yannick in this case, and any developers who get this kind of thing. These are human beings doing jobs, they have families, and they should not have to put up with such awful messages. At my work, someone says anything to me like that on the phone, my work will do everything in their power to make sure that that never happens again. They'll block that person from ever calling into the business again, and in some cases they'll even report those people to the police. I do hope Massive or Ubisoft do something here to protect their developers. Moving on guys, I do apologise about that mini statement there, rant, whatever you want to call it. Unfortunately, I'm unable to move on to a more positive tone because TU16.1 has been a disaster, and I wanted to talk about that in today's video. Now, I'm not sure where to start, but I guess we'll start with Picaros holster, the holster that came as part of TU16. Now, with TU16.1, Picaros was meant to be getting fixed so that it would have one core attribute and two attributes, one of those being the 15% weapon damage. This meant that players could theoretically roll the core attribute, which I believe always drops as a blue core, to a red core, giving you a holster which could have 30% weapon damage. Unfortunately, there's an issue where you cannot re-roll the core attribute to a red core, as it would only allow you to re-roll to a blue or a yellow core. So Picaros holster is still not working as intended, and we don't yet know when this might be fixed because Massive have yet to say anything. The shrapnel trap. This was due to be fixed with TU16.1. It's a long-awaited nerf to a skill that's plagued PvP for so long. Now with TU16, the shrapnel trap was due to be nerfed, I believe, into the ground, whilst Massive figured out how to balance the skill. But for whatever reason, it didn't get nerfed. I think it was included in the patch notes, but it didn't make it to the game. Roll around to TU16.1, and again, Massive confirmed the shrapnel trap would be nerfed. This was included in the patch notes. It would be rendered useless. But PvP players quickly figured out this nerf has not worked. I don't PvP myself, but from what I've seen, it appears the damage on the ground has been nerfed, but should the trap attach to a player, it's going to shred players. I believe Nothing But Skills actually did a video on this recently where I think he only had 3 skill tiers, and he was downing players with 1.9 million armor, and it's just so broken in PvP. It's insane. Now the shrapnel trap is still a plague on the PvP community and is unfortunately in a long list of issues plaguing PvP right now. I've seen a couple of other videos surface recently of other skills doing insane amount of damage, and again, this is probably stuff that's been around for a long time. I don't play PvP, so I don't know, and it just feels like to me, unless Massive have like one big PvP sort of update patch, which I believe they're going to do in the future, although whether those changes included in the patch notes actually make it to the game, we don't know. But unless they do that, then PvP is going to be ruined still for a very long time, and that is really unfortunate for all my PvP players out there. The closer chest piece. This has probably been the most controversial issue with TU16.1. Now, prior to the update, the chest piece was missing an attribute role. So, as confirmed in the patch notes, this update was meant to fix that issue. Well, it gave the attribute role back, good, but not the one players previously had. So if you grinded your ass off to get the perfect closer chest piece, then grinded to get this to max expertise, well, it's very possible that perfect roll will no longer be a perfect roll, and you would have done all of that for nothing. Now, for some people, it just so happens the random attribute being added to people's closer piece was the same as before, so it was okay for them. But for the vast majority of people, that's not the case. And this is a huge problem. This is probably the biggest problem to come out of all of this stuff, aside from obviously what I mentioned at the start of the video, which is obviously goes way above the game itself. But in terms of the game itself, this is probably the biggest issue. Players would have spent a ton of time getting the perfect piece for it to now be spoiled because Massive have clearly not given players back what they had, but instead given players a random roll. My God, I tell you what, I hate making these videos, but sometimes it's necessary. And this has to be called out because unlike Picaros, which is just, it's a holster that it needs to be changed, but it didn't work, the fix didn't work, whatever. This is something where players have probably invested, some players would have invested hundreds of hours, if not more than that, to get this piece, the perfect piece, and that's all gone. So all of that time, all of those resources have been wasted, and that is a far bigger problem than pretty much everything else that we're going to talk about in this video. Next up, and the summer XP farm has been nerfed like we knew it would, but Massive decided not to include this in the patch notes for whatever reason, I don't know. You can now earn the high XP just once on level 10. If you kill yourself and do the encounter again, you basically don't get anything at all. So the farm is gone. Now, personally, I think this fix was a fix that didn't need to happen, as I can only see a negative outcome from this. If Massive wanted to make the summit as barren as Kenley College, or at least close to, they've done that with this fix. Very disappointed, to be honest with this. I'm actually more disappointed this wasn't included in the patch notes. This wouldn't be the first time, and I'm sure it won't be the last time, where big changes in the game have not been included in the patch notes. Communication has to be better than this, Massive. It just looks really bad, especially because it happens so often. I'm still hearing that PC crashes are a real big problem, and I'm sure that Massive are fully aware of this and will continue to try and make changes there. But of course, if you're one of those players that experienced that, me just saying that doesn't really make much of a difference. I know that a lot of people have been talking about this on the forums, and content creators have been talking about this, so yeah, it must be still a big problem. I've heard that there are new bugs that have appeared since TU16.1. That's common. That happens with most updates. In most games, new stuff appears, stuff goes away. Just a never-ending cycle there. What I will say is some of the fixes have worked, of course, which is good. Rifle damage attribute on assault rifles has been fixed, which is great, and there are other fixes that have happened and are working as they've been done, which is great. It's not all doom and gloom, but there is no doubt that Massive have dropped the ball hard here, and we'll need to fix all of these issues as fast as possible in order to get back some of that goodwill. For the closer chest piece issue, if this can't be fixed, then players need to be compensated. I don't know how they're going to do that, because I think they'll probably just do a blanket compensation for anyone who's got a closer chest piece, which is going to be, for some people that'll be good. Someone like me who doesn't have a perfect piece, that'll be good. But for people that have a perfect piece, you might find that you don't quite get back as much as you did invest. And again, that's going to become a problem. Anyway, guys, thanks very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on TU16.1 in the comments down below. Subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss a video. Epic out.